Welcome to episode 91 of How I Built It. In this episode, continuing the SEO mini-series we started last week, I talked to John Doherty, the founder of Credo. I met John at CaboPress last year. CaboPress is an incredible mastermind week, and we got to talking about the marketing and SEO side of things. I don't know much about that, and John gave me a lot of great advice, but Credo is something that can help me in a very unique way. And we'll talk about exactly how in a minute. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Pantheon, Traitware, and Gravity View. You'll hear about Pantheon and Traitware a little bit later, so now let's talk about Gravity View. You may have heard of Gravity Forms. It's hands down the best form plugin for WordPress websites. It's amazing for collecting useful data. But what if you want to display those form submissions on your site? What if you want to give users the ability to edit and update their submissions? That's where the Gravity View plugin comes in. Gravity View lets you easily display and edit your data in a searchable directory with different layouts. It's fully customizable by you or your clients using the drag and drop UI, and it features tons of developer hooks. Don't waste hours developing custom code for your clients. You will have to support that code forever. Save yourself time and save your clients money by choosing Gravity View for your next project. Visit gravityview.co/howibuiltit to learn more and enter How I Built It at checkout for 15% off your purchase. Gravity View comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so try it today. That's gravityview.co/howibuiltit. And now, on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of How I Built It, the podcast that asks, how did you build that? Today, my guest is John Doherty of Hired Gun LLC and founder of Credo. John, how are you?
I'm doing well, Joe. How are you today?
I am fantastic. It is towards the end of, I think we're on the tail end of March as we record this, so I'm hopeful that it'll get warmer. I'm on the East Coast, the Northeast, where it's always cold. I'm not sure where you're located.
I'm in Denver, Colorado, and actually it's funny you bring up the weather because it was 67 and sunny and gorgeous here yesterday, and then about 6 p.m. last night it started dumping snow. So we Denver gets some crazy bipolar weather around this time of year, basically through May. So,
yeah,
but the trees are we're getting little buds on the trees, and I'm hopeful that spring is going to pop through, and then it's going to get hot as anything. So
very nice. When I worked at Crowd Favorite, I heard from a lot of my Denver coworkers that they'd basically have to leave with a coat, and then it would be shorts weather by the afternoon. And that's very interesting to me. I think I'm very much when I get one nice day, it has to be nice the rest of the year now. It has to just be nice until November. But I guess if I wanted that, I could move to, maybe Cabo, where we met at CaboPress. And that's kind of how we got connected. And so today you're going to be talking about Credo, right? A product or service that you've created. So why don't you tell people about who you are, what you do, and how you came up with the idea?
Yeah, for sure. So Credo is, I think the best way to describe it is a productized service, which I realized actually when we were in Cabo. I'd been thinking that I was building a product company, and then I was sitting at dinner one night and went to the product dinner, and one of the guys there was like, "Are you building a product or a service?" I was like, "Of course it's a product." And then a couple hours later, I was like, shoot, you're right, it's a service. So that was mind blowing on the first night. But basically what we do at Credo is we help businesses that are looking to take their business to the next level through SEO, content marketing, Facebook ads, PPC, that sort of thing. We help them connect with the right agency or, marketing provider for their specific needs. So, there are a lot of people out there that are there's the growth geeks of the world and that sort of thing, where it's people that come and they say I have $200, I need 4 blog posts a month written. That problem is solved. But the people that are I have $3,000-$4,000 a month to spend. I have a team internally, a team in place. And, we're really looking to scale this thing and hire the right person. But, we're an e-commerce company that we need SEO and Facebook ads. At Credo, we know who's good at that stuff. We know who does amazing e-commerce work, e-commerce SEO and Facebook ads, for example, and we can connect those two up. And then we help the business with reviewing proposals and basically following through until they feel comfortable and confident making the right decision for their business. So we get paid by the agencies and the consultants.
Nice, very nice, and that's interesting, right? I've been when we were in Cabo, I was trying to figure out, what exactly my niche is and how do I really understand my audience. I know you gave me some really good advice about the Facebook pixel, but as a one man band, especially, it's a very hard thing to manage. I almost need to remember, set up my social media for this episode. How do I even Facebook ad? Like, I don't know how to do that. So I mean, if you're not ready to take on an employee to do that full time, then this sounds like a great service for you, right?
Totally. Well, it's that. And then it's also actually the companies that were best at helping to find a provider are companies that, they're probably, most of them are around like $1 million plus a year in revenue. So 80, 90K a month in revenue. And we can help ones that are smaller than that, but they have to be, really focusing on growth, right? And focusing on marketing. And I've actually found it works best when there's someone that is basically heading up marketing that's not the founder, because founders have so much going on. Founders are also really afraid to pull the trigger on any real budget. And so when you have someone that really understands marketing and owns it and is focusing on it, that's when it's best to work with, a consultant or an agency, especially on like the strategy and services side.
Nice. That makes even more sense because they kind of know what they need, right? I'm not just walking in cold and saying like, I'll take one of the social media, please.
Totally. And as you said, also like we're exactly one of the social media is like, like, what are you talking about? And, founders, I mean, I know, like, we're so busy, right? We have so much going on. Like, you're recording podcasts, you're editing them, you're publishing them, you're promoting them, you're doing all that stuff, right? If you're building a product, you're also probably writing content, you're building the product, you might be coding, like, there's all this stuff going on. I've been building a team to help me out with a lot of that stuff over the last, like, 6 months, basically since Cabo. But, there's so much going on that it works best when you have someone that's really, like, focused, on doing it, and their full-time job is doing marketing, producing content, promoting, etc. And then if you don't have the budget, or, a lot of companies, like I've worked in house for some big companies where I had to say 6 months ahead of time who I wanted to start hiring 6 months from then, right? Wow. And when you're trying to move fast, you can't wait 6 months. You basically have to, you have to get it done then if you're trying to move fast. So often you have marketing budget to spend to, on an agency or something like that, but you don't have it to hire, but you can't open up ahead. So that's when an agency can be perfect to engage with, even short term, until you can hire someone.
Gotcha. That sounds great. And it's already giving me stuff to think about, because I know, if doing the podcast, making my courses, doing whatever else I do, I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. When I went out on my own, I thought I was doing it right because it was just kind of like, it was my side gig first, and whatever income that was generated was good enough for me. And then I went out on my own and I thought, hey, I actually need to generate real income here. And what I'm doing isn't cutting it. Like, for extra income, it's fine. For like my full-time, gotta support my family income, I need to do something a little different. So there's definitely a lot of things to consider there. And so it's also really hard to kind of keep up with. So, I like to ask this question, but I feel like we're going to get a pretty good answer from you. No pressure. What kind of research do you do to stay on top of this stuff? Today's episode is brought to you by Pantheon. WordPress 5.0 and the new editor, Gutenberg, are coming. Are you prepared? Do you want to learn about the changes in advance? Pantheon has gathered resources to help you prepare, including webinars and tutorials. Pantheon also has made it easy and free to try Gutenberg with your site before the official launch. Visit pantheon.io/Gutenberg. Let them know that How I Built It sent you. And now, back to the show.
Oh man, that's a great question. So, I mean, I'm a professional marketer, right? I've been a marketer for about a decade now, agency side, in-house, running my own company. So, I've specialized in search engine optimization for a long time, and then done a lot around, content and that sort of stuff. And now I'm really getting deeper into, marketing funnels, email funnels, that sort of stuff. And basically the way I do it is 3 different ways. One is Twitter. I carefully curate who I follow. So I have about 500 some people that I follow. I have high 20,000s in followers, but I only follow about 500. And that number's actually increased a bit recently because I've been following different types of people, product people, more general growth people, more of these like funnel hackers sort of people, simply because I'm trying to learn more there. Second one is podcasts. So, listening to things like Mixergy is really good. Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income has some really good stuff in it. Chase Jarvis or Creative Live by Chase Jarvis is another one that I listen to. So that's really good. And then I follow a few specific newsletters. So Heaton Shaw has a really good one. Product Habits. Grow.co has a good weekly newsletter that comes out. So those are some of the places I basically try to find. I mean, just like Credo, there's so many people out there that say that they're an expert, but a lot of them actually aren't. There's a lot of noise in the space. So I'm trying to provide signal to the digital marketing world of who's actually good. Same with content. I'm trying to follow the high signal to noise people. And, the newsletters are not sending me something every single day. I don't need a growth tip every single day, right?
Right.
Give me like the 6 best articles from the past week around product and growth and, revenue generation, right? Like that's what I'm looking for. That's what actually helps you build your business as opposed to just getting overwhelmed with all these like little, tips and tricks and hacks. You actually need that strategy. And then you can you can learn the tactics and, you hear the hacks all over the place. Like there's no shortage of those. You actually need to know how to put together the strategy first. So that's what I try to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if all you do is hacks, then eventually you're going to chop off your arm, right? But you need
exactly.
It's like how in math class, the teacher teaches you the long way and then they teach you the shortcut because you need to understand the process before you can actually do the shortcut. So I love that. Studio Neat has a really good newsletter for me. Like it's 2 guys. They send one link each that they like and then a picture of something they're working on. It's easily digestible. And for somebody who's trying, we're both trying to read and consume and learn a lot, stuff like that is excellent. So that's awesome. So I want to touch on something you said about a lot of people saying that they're experts out there, right? When I was a kid, but I was in college, I was like, oh man, SEO is easy. I'll just like write the HTML markup and boom, SEO. Like, and a lot of people feel that way. People feel that way about WordPress. Oh, making a website's easy, just WordPress and done. So how do you kind of cut through the noise and put yourself out there as like a signal?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of, actual experts do. I'm guilty of this myself. I had a friend the other day basically tell me that she was trying to do something, new with her site, trying to change some form styles and that sort of stuff. And saying that she wants to do like a paid course. And I was like, oh, just use like, Restrict Content Pro and, WP Simple Pay and you're on WordPress already. And, shout out to Phil Dirksen and, to Pippin there. But, I was like, oh, just use these. And she's like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, right. There's no just there. Like this is old hat to me. But, I think there are a couple of things there. One is when someone is an expert, they are going to say stuff like that where it's, oh, just use this and use that. And you might not have any clue, but like they've gone in and done the work, right? Otherwise they might be like, oh, well, what about this? And what about that? And you could do this thing, right? And there is all that ambiguity there, but they can actually, they actually see the full range and know what's actually good there.
Right. They can pull from their experience to kind of give you a guided answer.
Exactly. And then the big thing is, I think, showing their work, right? So going back to math class, right? I was always told, show your work. I hated showing my work. I was bad at it. I got terrible scores in math because like I hated showing my work. I was like, no, I can do this in my head and this is the answer. And they're like, yeah, but how'd you get there? I'm like, the way you told me to in class. I just did it in my head, not on paper. Like, I don't want to write that out. I have bad handwriting.
Yeah.
But, something that I've really learned recently is, basically if you're an expert and you're trying to show someone that you are actually an expert, you have to show your work, right? You have to show basically a proof point, a case study for everything that you're claiming to do. So if it's like, oh, if you want to grow your membership site, right, through SEO, do X, Y, and Z. Oh, by the way, here's a membership site that I helped do this on, right? So I think actually, showing your work. And then if you're looking for an expert, find the people that are actually showing their work that, that's legitimate stuff, that they're being open about it. So I think that's really, really key there. Find those that are, willing to teach, and those are the ones that are actually the experts.
Awesome. As an online teacher, I'm really liking that you're saying that. But it's true, right? It's so funny because in the last maybe 10 years, 15 years, there's been such a shift from like, you can't see what I'm doing. Just know that I've done this and you can't see what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. And now maybe it's just in the WordPress space, but I feel like it's a lot more widespread than that, right? Like a GitHub account is really important, but it's like, this is what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and why I'm doing it. The guys at Basecamp, a little bit smug as they may be, are very open in the way they do things, and they're clearly doing something better than me. So maybe, it's not undeserved, but they're very open about running their business. And Pippin, who you mentioned, I mean, he's one of the most open people about his business that I know. He'll talk about the decisions he's made and why and how it's affecting his business. And it's no secret why he's an expert in our field, because people see what he's doing and they see his success and they know why he's successful.
Totally. And I think that is carrying over to some other industries. I think it's starting to come around in the SEO world and the digital marketing world. I mean, you still get like the make money online sort of people that are very like kind of closed-lipped and, and all of that. I tend to be very transparent and very open. Some people say I'm bragging, but it also works, right? I'm showing what I'm doing. I'm showing the results, right? And that builds trust with people. I'm honestly not trying to brag about it. I'm just saying like, hey, this worked, right? Like learn from this. I'm honestly, I come from a family of educators. I want to teach people. I love teaching. So yeah, I think that is, coming about. I think it's very important as well for people that have, built something of value to also show, kind of how they got there.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. So moving from kind of the research and the signal versus noise, which I guess ironically is the Basecamp blog, right? Before we get into and so I guess I'll ask you how you built Credo, or we could talk about kind of how you build a strategy for somebody, so I'll give you some time to mull that one over. But I started this podcast. I want to get back to the root of this question. I started this podcast because I was talking to other people about starting my own online courses, and I was like, I should record these conversations. And so I was like, almost like it was like a mini mastermind. Do you mastermind with anybody? Are there people that you bounce ideas off of?
I have some people that I bounce ideas off of. I don't have like an official mastermind, but it's definitely something I've been thinking about doing. So, connecting with other peers and such has been a focus of mine for the last 6-ish months.
Nice. Very nice. And I mean, do you find that stuff helps? I mean, being a fairly solo entrepreneur, right? You're building a team, but I don't know if you work from home, but I know I work from home. I'm a solo guy. Like just talking to people once or twice a week, like has been great for me. I miss having coworkers in that regard.
Yeah, I definitely find that is something that I need. I mean, even if you're building out a team, the thing is like being an entrepreneur, even if you're not like a solo entrepreneur doing everything, but you're a solo founder, like no one else within your company understands what that means. Even if you're really good at kind of like giving people the full scope of like, this is what's going on and this is what's happening in the business, which I'm really bad at that, by the way. And that's something that I'm working on, like as a founder, as a CEO now, I guess, because I have employees, but they're never going to understand like kind of the emotional stuff that you go through, right? And the emotional challenges that happen there, where it's like, hey, stuff is a little slow right now. And, that happens every single year because it's this time of year and everyone's super busy. They geared up at the beginning of the year and they're going to rework their strategy middle of the year. And then end of the year, they're going to be thinking towards the next year. But March, April is a little bit slower. I know that intellectually, but I feel it deeply emotionally. They don't feel that because it's not their baby, right? So yeah, I definitely, find that useful and find it useful to have other people, to commiserate with, where they're like, yeah, when I go through slow times, like I struggle and, I wonder if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I wonder if I'm being, delivering for my clients what I need to be delivering, right? So it's, I found that super helpful. And honestly, I've just found it helpful to have, I've kind of built out levels where I have some people that basically I mentor. I mean, very, unofficially, but like people that I kind of help with their business because they're just getting going. Then I have other people that are about at the same, kind of level as me, been on their own, working for themselves, building a company for the last 2 to 4 years, really. I'm about 2.5 years in. And then I have people like Chris Lima and Dan Martell and people like that I consider my mentors that are numerous steps ahead of me, right? 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of me. And they, for some reason, graciously give me their time, right? And I can ask them questions every now and then. They'll meet up with me every now and then, if we're in the same area, and I can, kind of pick their brain, for an hour or so. And, those are the ones that really take it to the next level, but you have to have all those different levels there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you touched on like the empathy factor, right? That's something that's not impossible for somebody who's not in the same position, but it's very hard, right? Because I have found that people who are not in the same position think that either I'm like extremely poor or I'm very wealthy. And that's like neither one of those is true. Like, oh, you have your own business? Like, are you rich? I'm like, no, I'm not at all rich. Like, so the empathy factor is Very important. And that was another big thing I got from CaboPress, because I had just gotten out of a very slow period where I thought, like, right after I went out on my own, where I was like, I have absolutely made the wrong choice. I have a
This is the worst
5-month-old.
decision of my
I'm
life.
not making any money. And
Yep.
Jennifer Bourne gave me incredible advice on that. She was like, yeah, the summer is slow. Save a portion of your income and be ready for that slow period. We go on vacations because I know there's going to be no work and I don't want to panic about money. Like, it was just like Jennifer Bourne is a very successful person by most people's accounts. So like, her telling me that made me feel a lot better. So the empathy factor is so important, and having, mentees and mentors. Mentees, I think, keep you grounded, right? Like, because you're remembering what it's like when you first started, right? So you can empathize with the new person. Very helpful in my online courses. And then, Chris Lemma is an excellent person. Like, he's always offers great advice. Sean Hesketh has been kind of a personal mentor to me quite a bit. We're in a similar field, and so I've learned a lot from him. But all of that is very important.
Totally. And let me give one more piece of advice
Yeah.
there. So I actually, beginning of 2015, my business had grown to a certain point. I think we were doing like 12, 13K a month, in revenue. And basically I was at a breaking point. I was like, I cannot do anymore. Like, I do not know how to take this thing to the next level. I'm overwhelmed. I'm working way too much. I just moved to Colorado and wanted some more balance in my life, a bit more time. And I actually went and hired a business coach. I still work with him. I pay him a couple grand a month. We catch up a couple times a month, on the phone. And, he has helped me out a ton with getting clarity about, who I am as an entrepreneur, what my skills are, the roles I need to hire for, the highest leverage. He's really, really good at being like, is that thing you're working on the highest leverage thing that you could be doing? Right. And so it's a combination, and that's always and I always push back, and I'm like, long term, I think it is. Short term, it's not the thing that's going to, double my business next month, right? Which, if you've been in business for a little while, that there's really nothing that's going to double your business next month. But
Right.
It is good to constantly have that push of like, is this the highest like value thing you can be working on, or do you actually need to push that off till like Q3? And having someone like that you're paying, because then the mentors, like Chris, et cetera, and I know Chris does, consulting, does coaching as well. And so does Dan, right? But neither of them is my coach. But having someone that you're paying, that basically you're paying them for their advice. And then you also know you're going to get their advice consistently, and basically they know that like, if they're not helping you grow your business, you're going to stop paying them. Right. So they're also incentivized to help you out. Right.
Right.
And they don't go 3 weeks without getting back to you. Right. So, versus like when someone emails me and, they're not paying me for something, like, guess what? They go to the back of the line behind the people that are. So I think that's something that like a lot of people should consider, like getting an actual coach. I think more entrepreneurs need an actual coach.
Are you as frustrated with usernames and passwords as I am? Traitware believes you are, and they created Traitware Secure Login as the solution for all of us. Traitware enables you, your staff, and your customers and members a secure way to sign in that replaces usernames and passwords. With a simple mobile app or PC login, you can provide a better experience, increase security, and reduce the risk of lost or stolen passwords. Traitware is the secure login you have been looking for. Check out a quick video on how to sign in with Traitware and register for a exclusive How I Built It coupon at secureloginapp.com/WordPress. That's secureloginapp.com/WordPress. Say goodbye to usernames and passwords. Say goodbye to phishing, man-in-the-middle, or brute force attacks. Never again create, forget, share, or lose a password for your WordPress website. And now, back to the show. Yeah, especially the people who are moving from like freelance to entrepreneur, right? Because I freelanced all through high school, all through college, a little bit after grad school, and I never saw, there are two things you said there. I never saw the value in paying for something that I could do myself. Like, I never wanted to invest because that was money out of my pocket, but it's an investment. And then the other thing is, what you said about, is that thing you're doing the best thing, the high leverage thing, right? Because as I can totally empathize with the freelancer who just takes any job because it's money in their pocket, right? But over the last couple of years, I got to work with Brian Richards and a bunch of other really smart people, and we talked about how if you're taking just any old job, that could be costing you money in the long run. Like, you got to do the thing that's best for your business, even if it doesn't mean immediate money in your pocket. So both of those things, just fantastic advice for really growing your business, taking it to the next level, and not just kind of, you don't want to scrape by all the time. Then what are you doing in your business? It's very stressful. So cool. So we are almost coming up on time. We're like 20 minutes in, and I haven't even asked you the title question yet. So here's the title question. So much good advice in this episode already. How did you build it? And so we'll talk about you said Credo is a productized service. So maybe how did you design that service, and how do you build out that service for, let's say we have a sample client?
Yep. So it's been through a lot of trial and error. So my site is all built on WordPress. I've been developing on WordPress for a long time. WordPress plus Paid Memberships Pro, and Gravity Forms, Gravity View, some of those different plugins. And I put all the tools that I use to build Credo on. It's getcredo.com/recommended-tools is the URL there. So, but basically how I went about designing it, and the product, the company has been through a bunch of different iterations. Started off with me vetting out every single project and then emailing friends. And basically when they closed it, emailing friends, do you want to talk to this person? When they closed it, then I got a commission, to basically a fully functioning marketplace without processing payments, where a project would come in and we'd set it live on the platform. I had a custom email system that would email it out to people that did that kind of work within that budget, that it paced it based off of how many leads they had received that month or contacted. If I had a contact cap for each lead of 4, if that wasn't reached in 4 hours, it would email a couple more, basically the number left times 2. Super complicated stuff. Never really worked well. And so my developer and I recently just blew all of that away, because I basically realized it didn't make sense to have people. And at that point, agencies and consultants were paying basically on the number of leads they want to be able to contact each month, which didn't really make sense for a couple of reasons. One, I wasn't playing the quantity game. I'm playing the quality game, right? These are not the $200 a month. I need, 4 blog posts a month, sort of crap. It's, I need a super expert, an SEO expert that I can pay $5,000 a month to, grow my business that's already at 2 mil, and I want to take it to 5 mil a year. So it didn't really make sense for someone to be paying the same amount basically for a $1,000 a month lead or a $5,000 a month lead. Plus those leads weren't closing. They weren't closing for the agency. So basically I then pivoted again just before CaboPress last year. So September last year, where I launched an annual plan. So I have a directory, and then I have about 15 agencies I work directly with. They pay us per month, and they also pay us a commission in perpetuity on the work that they close. And we help them close that work. So basically, it's a productized service. Basically, we're an agency, or a lead generation agency for marketing agencies. And the people on our preferred plan so it's meta as anything. People on our preferred plan are basically our clients, right? I think of them as our clients. If I was, I do my own SEO consulting as well. Those are my clients. Our preferred agencies on Credo are Credo's, Credo, the agency's clients. So basically the way we do it is when a business comes in and says, we're an e-commerce company, or let's say you're a membership site, right? Membership site that you're doing, $1 million a year in revenue, let's say, and you want to grow it to 3 or even 500K, and you want to grow it to 1 million, right? But you have so much going on. Basically, you submit our form, schedule a phone call with us, hop on the phone with my customer success person. She kind of talked with you about who you are, what your business does, how you make money, and what you need, what you're looking for. And then once she kind of gets all that together, she puts together what we call a project description, which is basically 6 to 8 sentences about what you need. All those things that she just went through with you. You approve that on the platform, so that's built out. And then she sends that project description to agencies or consultants that do that sort of work. Once they accept it, we make the introduction, and then we follow up a week later, make sure everyone got to connect. And then once you have proposals in hand, we hop back on the phone with you, review the proposal, say, hey, do you have a good understanding of this from this agency? I didn't see this from this agency that we talked about. So then basically help that client get to the point where they still make the decision. They sign the contract directly with the agency of their choice, but we've basically helped them get to the point where they're confident that they're making the right decision.
Man, that's incredible. So, you're providing a network for your clients, right? Where you're saying these are the people I know, this is who I think will be a good fit for you. But I think the the big value add is the last thing you just said, where like we review the contracts or the proposals with you, because that is an overwhelming process. Like, because everybody's this is a standard contract. Is it a standard contract? I don't know what that contract looks like everywhere. So just like having somebody who sees proposals like that all the time and saying like, this is probably not great for you, or this should be included. This has been included other places, and I feel like that's a huge value add, and something that takes a long time of trial and error, or hiring an expert who knows that stuff and who has seen it through experience.
Well, and it's a value add on both sides as well, because it's a value add to the agencies because we're reviewing their proposals with them, right? And also giving them feedback. I had one agency recently that they were sending through basically a Google Doc of their proposal. And they had awesome stuff in there, but they were going up against this agency that was super polished, right? And so I basically went back and told this agency, I was like, look, man, you might only be 3 people, but like, and talk about being a micro agency of experts, but like you need to like up your brand a bit. And we talked through that, and he came back, 2 weeks later and had completely like redone that, right? So that's huge value to him. And then on the client side, I mean, we're not giving legal advice, right? But I'm saying like, hey, we talked about X, Y, and Z. We talked about Facebook ads. They don't mention Facebook ads in this proposal at all. Like, what's going on there, right? Or, if it's a bigger agency and they said that, oh, we've worked with a big agency in the past and, didn't really like that because the account manager set up, and then we introduced them to smaller agencies because of that. When they come back, we still ask, like, do you have a good idea of who's actually going to be working on your project, right? Because there are definitely agencies, and this is the right fit for some people, where there's an account manager and like 4 different teams with junior people working on your project, right? But for certain businesses, like you need a like 10-year veteran, like directly working on your project, not some junior person that, that they're farming out work to. So we really like help them kind of think about those questions and then go back with better questions, and we're not, we don't hear like the phone calls that they have with the agencies and all that. So we've had the initial contact and we see the proposals and get some other bits and pieces, throughout. But yeah, like the hardest part is, actually helping someone pull the trigger. And a lot of businesses will get scared off, like Joe, if you're trying to grow, this podcast, you want someone to help you out with like promotion and all that. And someone comes back, even if you know that you have $2,000 a month to spend like on marketing, someone comes back and proposes you to spend $2,000 a month with them for X, Y, and Z, you're going to be scared, right?
Yeah,
you're
that's more than rent, right?
Like, you're not going to respond, right? You're not going to respond for a little while, that sort of thing. So we can actually help the agencies close more work because we're also keeping the client involved, right? We keep you involved. Hey, we know you got proposals from this agency and this agency. Like, let's schedule a call. Let's hop back on. Let's talk through your fears, all that stuff.
Right. Because, I mean, you can be the person that says like, because in my head, I just see the money flying out the window. Oh my God, that is more than I pay in rent per month. Like what? But you're saying, hey, that $2,000 a month can make you $5,000 a month or
it's
whatever.
That investment mindset that we were talking about just like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. And the bit you said about providing value to agencies too, because, there have been proposals I've sent out that I've just gotten a no, and then I haven't gotten a reason why. You can now provide maybe not the reason why, but at least feedback to say like, hey, this is where you can do things better. And that is so important because that feedback means that I'm not going to lose the next one for that mistake. So
exactly.
You're helping everybody. This is fantastic.
Trying to.
Yeah, we're slightly over time. That's okay. I've asked you've kind of answered your question about transformations. So do you have any big plans for the future? Anything coming down the pike?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, a few things. I have a couple of new offerings that I'm planning to launch soon. Actually, by the time this comes out, one of them should be launched, but I'm not going to say what it is yet in case it's not. But yeah, I have some other basically what I've realized is everyone always says like focus on, one offer, one model, that sort of thing. But I also believe that there are a lot of ways that you can provide value to people, right? So really, I'm looking for a few different ways to kind of diversify our revenue streams to help us, invest back into growing the company. So, like the lead side is good. I'm doing more affiliate stuff. I have a couple of other like paid offerings I'm going to be launching as well. So yeah, that's kind of the future. And then as I said, like I'm really trying to learn to be a CEO and not just like an entrepreneur and like a solo lone wolf do it yourself kind of person. Mm-hmm. So I'm really trying to hire good people to take over stuff that I'm not amazing at, like operations or I'm good at sales, but like I shouldn't be hopping on the call with someone that has, $1,200 a month to spend on Facebook ads, right? I can pay someone who is much cheaper than me to do that, who can do it just as well, if not better. So that's really like where my company is going over the next year.
Nice. That sounds fantastic. Well, I'm very excited to see how that works out when this episode drops. I'll look for that new feature.
I'll send it to you.
Awesome. Sounds great. So my final question, my favorite question, do you have any trade secrets for us?
Trade secrets. Let's see here. So yeah, I think so when it comes to, growing your company, one of the trade secrets that I always like to tell people is, and I don't know that's really a secret, but it's like when it comes down to marketing, it's all about who is the person that you're trying to serve and how do you serve them best, right? So you can have people talk about their personas. So you have a persona, for me, it's like marketing directors, for example, right? I have to get down deep into, like what are their fears? Like what are the things that they're struggling with? All of that sort of stuff to really know, like, what is the offering? How do I message it to them? How do I get in front of them? All of those sorts of things. So I think this is something that I personally have missed for a long time. Like I was saying at the beginning, tactics and tips and tricks and, all of that are a dime a dozen. You actually have to get down to the strategy. I feel like I've built my business backwards, like starting on like, oh yeah, I can drive traffic like to these pages and write content and whatever. But now really like if I'm going to get to the next level, I have to actually think about, okay, what is the longer term strategy of my business? And so actually getting down into who is my customer. So get down into if you are, you have a business that's doing okay, but you really want to take it to the next level, you really have to go back to who is my customer, who is my audience, and what do they really need from me, right? And that's going to drive your future decisions as opposed to like, oh, I want to build a product. Oh, I want to build a membership site. No, you want to serve this audience. And what is the best way to serve them? Is it a product? Maybe. Is it a membership site? Maybe. Is it a podcast? Maybe. Your audience can tell you that.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And it goes right back to the empathy factor, right? You understand what your customer needs, and then you can build around that. Very cool. Well, John, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find you if they want to learn more?
So the best place to find me is, so my company site is getcredo.com, GETCREDO.com, D as in dog. And the best place to connect with me personally is on Twitter. I'm at DohertyJF, DOHERTYJF.
Thanks so much to John for joining me today. He offers a lot of great advice and works really hard at his craft. You can tell by the way he talks how passionate he is, and that shows in a great product or productized service. And thanks again to our sponsors, Pantheon, Traitware, and Gravity View. Their support is deeply appreciated. The question of the week for you is, have you ever had a business coach or mentor? Let me know on Twitter at jcasabona or email me joe@howibuilt.it. Maybe I'll read your answer on the air. For all of the show notes, head over to howibuilt.it/91. If you like the show, head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and a review. It helps other people discover the show. You can also join the Facebook community over at howibuilt.it/Facebook. I want to build a strong community for this podcast, and Facebook is the place to do it. I make sure to post the question of the week there as well, so if you want to answer amongst other listeners and guests, you can do that. And until next time, get out there and build something.